The following matchup is being played with History Maker Baseball Express, a fast-playing baseball simulation board game, a property of Play Games LLC, copyright 2022, all rights reserved. Welcome to today's episode of the History Maker Baseball Express Hour. In today's episode, boy, do we have a good matchup for you on hand, as we are going to be rewinding the clock back to 1973, as we are going to feature the Swingin Oakland Athletics taking on the 1973 New York Mets as we revisit a historic classic World Series matchup on the latest edition of World Series Rewind as part of our final week featuring MLB Stars who played at the College Baseball World Series. Today's featured player will be none other than Sal Bando. Can he lead the Oakland Athletics to victory here in our replay of the 73 World Series? Well, I guess you're going to have to tune in to find out because game one is coming up just around the corner. But before we get to first pitch, let's take a look at our and say thank you to our official Play Game sponsors for sponsoring today's episode of World Series Rewind as part of the History Maker Baseball Express Hour. We would like to take time to say thank you to our official Play Game sponsors for sponsoring today's episode of the History Maker Baseball Express Hour. This episode, first of all, is being brought to you by your favorite Bitty Beer products. And again, if you choose to drink Bitty Beer, please remember to drink responsibly. Hey, it's a blend of hops, rice, and barley that gives Bitty Beer its taste. But we know better. It's our brewing process that gives our beer that one-of-a-kind flavor that no premium beer can match. Our vats have never been cleaned. There's an itty-bitty bit of history in every can. Bitty Beer, the beer for folks who can't afford better. And by Doc Cola, the official cola drink of the Play Games community. Doc Cola uses the finest ingredients to bring you that sugary blast of caffeine you've come to know and love. Twice the sugar and 3 times the caffeine of any other major. Doc Cola is sure to keep fired up from dawn till dusk. Take the Doc Cola challenge. See why our customers agree you'll never be able to wean yourself from a refreshing Doc Cola. And by Pizza Kingdom, the official pizza joint of the Play Games community. Pizza Kingdom, our signature New York style pizza, starts with crust. Then we layer on our homemade pizza sauce, then load your pizza up with mounds of cheese. When it comes out of the oven, piping hot, golden brown, and ready for you to enjoy. Then we give the majestic culinary work of art to Mikey, our 16-year-old delivery driver who has responsible as a tree. Pizza Kingdom, it's sheer perfection. Left the store. And by Suncoast Capital Banks. At Suncoast Capital, we live by one simple rule of investing. When our clients win, we win. When our clients lose, we win. Suncoast Capital, you know we're going to get all of your money anyway. And by Rubicon Wireless. Why pay $200 a month for wireless service when you get 4 lines for just $25 a month? With our tin can plan, you can access our wireless network that covers at 25% of coast to coast between the hours of 11 p.m. and 4:30 a.m. with unlimited text and messaging those hours, of course. So why overpay for service you cannot live out? Rubicon Wireless. And we're just about set and ready to go for game one of this episode of World Series Rewind featuring the 1973 Fall Classic between the 1973 New York Mets and the 1973 Oakland Athletics. There was one player on the A's who played in the College Baseball World Series that we are highlighting today as part of our final week of featuring MLB Stars, past and present, who played in the College Baseball World Series, and that is the Oakland third baseman, Sal Bando. So with that being said, let's get right down to it for game one of this episode of World Series Rewind. Your starting pitching matchup for game one is as follows. Ken Holtzman will go for the A's, and he'll be opposed by John Matlack in the bottom half of the first. With that being said, Holtzman is ready to go as he finishes up his warm-up tosses as we speak. We got Wayne Garrett to lead things off for the Mets. Lineups are out on screen if you want to keep track at home. And with that being said, let's get going here for game one of this episode of World Series Rewind. And again, to mention for the lineups, Cranepool is the DH. Cleon Jones will be the left fielder for this game. With that being said, Holtzman is ready. Wayne Garrett is ready. Let's get game one underway for this episode of World Series Rewind. We'll begin game one with a 1-2-4. Ace on Holtzman. He's not. Champ on Garrett. He's not. That is going to be a no runs result of a one blank, and that will do it for the top half of the first inning. The Mets walk away with nothing in their half of the first, and now it's on the Athletics' turn in the bottom half of the inning with John Matlack trotting his way out to the mound. .266. Star pitcher on Matlack. He is a star, so therefore that's going to be a no runs result of a 6 dot, and that is going to be all she wrote for the first inning here at the Coliseum in Oakland. The score is a big fat goose egg between the Metropolitans and the Athletics. We'll begin the second inning here for game one with a 1-3-6. 1-3-6. Here we are. Ace pitcher on Holtzman. He's not. Hero on Felix Milan. He is a semi-hero. The decider die says he is. So therefore, that's going to be a men on base result with a base running adjustment. Felix Milan is a semi-stoic runner. The decider die says, oh, he's not. So therefore, that 3 is going to stay put. The Mets are not going to play their trump card early of going big or going home. So therefore, they're going to place the runners on at first and second for Rusty Staub off the men on base chart. Oh, wow. 66. Scrapper hits single. Staub is not a scrapper. So therefore, that is going to be a double, and the first 2 runs of the ball game are going to come across to score for the Metropolitans as the Mets now lead it 2-0 here in the top of the second over the Oakland Athletics. We stay on the men on base chart with a 44. Wild pitcher? No, Ken Holtzman is not a wild pitcher. So therefore, it will be a flyout. The Mets score 2 here in the second inning here at the Coliseum in Oakland for game one of this episode of World Series Rewind. After 1.5 innings of play, it's Mets 2 and the Athletics nothing. .136. Here we are. Ace pitcher on Matlack. He's not an ace. Hero batter on Bill North. He is a semi-hero. Oh, but the decider die says he's not. So therefore, that's going to be a no runs result with the possibility of a solo home run. Bill North is a scrapper, so therefore, is a semi-scrapper. He doesn't have home run king or slugger qualities. So therefore, it'll be a no runs result of a 3. Let me see. Yes, to check on if he was a hero or not. So therefore, it'll be a no runs result of a 1 blank to end the second inning here at the Coliseum. The Mets take charge of the A's 2-0 after 2 innings of play. 336. 336. Here we are. Workman on Holtzman. He's not. Sad sack on Crane Pool, the designated hitter for this game. He is not a sad sack. So therefore, that's going to be an RBI question mark check. Oh, the black six was there, but the decider die says no. So therefore, it'll be a no runs result of a 3 blank to seal up the deal for the top half of the third here at the Coliseum. The Mets still take charge of this one 2-0. 346. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, I play it as 3 full fresh, 3 semi-fresh for those of you tuning in for the first time to the History Maker Baseball Express Hour. So Matlick, since we're still in the freshness innings, Matlick is still considered fresh. Hero on Bando. He's a semi-hero, and the decider die says yes, he is. So therefore, that is going to be a men on base result with a base running adjustment. Bando is a semi-stoic runner. Excuse me. Excuse me. Sal Bando is a semi-stoic runner, and the decider die says, oh, he is. So that 3 will be reduced to a 2, putting Bando on its second base for Reggie Jackson. He'll take his hacks off the men on base chart with a 14. Scrapper hits single. Get out of here. When is Reggie Jackson ever a scrapper? So therefore, that is going to be a double. A run will come across to score for the A's as they do get on the board thanks to a Reggie Jackson RBI double. We continue to roll on the men on base chart for Darren Johnson. 34. Slugger hits double. Johnson is not a slugger. So therefore, that's going to be a single. And that is, I think that's going to tie the game, folks. Johnson will get the RBI single. Yes, runners advance 2 bases. So the runner on second will automatically score to tie up the ball game at 2 after 3 innings of play. Three, 4, 6. Pitcher not fresh, since we're in the semi-freshest innings now. Ken Holtzman, and I usually go by dot, he's fresh, blank, he's not. Since we're in the semi-freshest innings, it seems that Ken Holtzman is not fresh. So therefore, it'll be a men on base result with a base running adjustment. Jerry Grody is a stoic runner, so that 3 will be reduced to a 2, putting the runner on its second base for Don Hahn off the men on base chart. 35. Control pitcher. Yes, Ken Holtzman is a control pitcher, so good bounce back to allow possibly maybe a double, a single or a stolen base, or a walk and a stolen base, or an error in a stolen base, whatever you want to call it, to get the runner on second and nothing more. We go to the bottom half of the inning. Your score is all deadlocked at 2 apiece between the Oakland Athletics and the New York Metropolitans. Two, 5, 6. 2, 5, 6. Here we are. Workman pitcher on Matlick. He is not. Satsack on Gene Tennis. He is not. So therefore, it'll be a men on base result, -1 for the black die if flash. Matlick has flash, so that 2 will be reduced to a 1. Tenants will trot his way down to first. And we go to the men on base chart for Joe Rudy with a 12. Slugger hits home run. Joe Rudy has semi-slugger. The decider die says yes, he does. Therefore, it is going to, Rudy is going to put a charge into this one. Hits it out to deep right center field. It is high. It is far. It is crushed and gone. Joe Rudy gives the A's a 4-2 lead here in the 4th inning over the Metropolitans of 1973. Here in Game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind, we continue to roll off the men on base chart with the bases empty for a 66 for Ray Fosse. Scrapper hits single. Fosse is a semi-scrapper. The decider die says yes, he is. So that could have been bad for the Mets, but they still they still allow a single to Ray Fosse. We're gonna keep rolling on the men on base chart for Dick Green, the second baseman for the A's in Game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind with a 44. Wild pitcher? No, John Matlick is not a wild pitcher, so therefore it will be a flyout, but the damage was done. Thanks to Tutti Frutti, Joe Rudy, as he hits a two-run jack to give the Athletics a 4-2 lead after 4 innings of play. We begin the top half of the fifth for the Mets with a 1-2-3. Workman or struggler on Ken Holtzman. Get out of here. No way. Champ on Bud Harrelson. He is not a champ. So therefore, that is going to be a no runs result of a 1 blank. And that'll seal up the deal for the first 4.5 innings of game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind. The Athletics lead the Mets 4-2. 1-3-5. Ace on Matlick. No. Champ on Bert Campaneris. No. That'll be a no runs result of a 3 dot. And that will seal up the deal for the first 5 innings here at the Coliseum for Game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind. The A's take charge of the Metropolitans 4-2. 2-3-4. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, we're in the semi-freshest innings, and it seems Ken Holtzman is not fresh. Oh, man, that's going to be a men on base result with a base running adjustment on the left fielder for this game, Cleon Jones. He is a semi-stoic runner. The decider die will say he is a stoic runner, so therefore, from a 2 to a 1, as Jones will trot his way down to first for Wayne Garrett off the men on base chart. And we do see some action down in the Athletics bullpen. Same with the Mets, as both starters are on their last legs here in Game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind. 45. Fresh pitcher gets the ground. Fresh pitcher gets the ground out. Ken Holtzman again is not fresh, so therefore, it will be a single chance to take Holtzman out of the game and end the inning. And I think that's what we're going to do. That's what the A's manager is going to do. So therefore, it will be a single, 2 runners advance 2 bases, and nothing more. So in this case, the Mets threaten but do not score. Head to the bottom half of the 6th, as Ken Holtzman will leave the ball game. As we do see the manager for the A's shake his starter's hand, and he tells him we'll trust the bullpen going forward for the rest of this one here for Game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind. Again, we head to the bottom half of the 6th with the score: the Athletics 4 and the Metropolitans 2. Four, 5, 6. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, we're in the 6th innings of the semi-freshest innings, and Matlick is not fresh. So therefore, it'll be a men on base result with a base running adjustment. Bill North is an active runner, so therefore, from 4 to a 5, placing runners on at 2nd and 3rd for Sal Bando to bat off the men on base chart. 16. Good eye? No, Bando does not have a good eye, so therefore it will be a strikeout to end the first 6 innings here at the Coliseum in Oakland, California for Game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind. Your score after 6 innings of play, as we do see a new bullpen arm for the A's trot in from the bullpen. The score is A's 4, Mets 2. Timeout. We're back here at the Coliseum for the start of the 7th inning for game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind with the Athletics in front of the Mets, 4-2. And it seems we have a new pitcher for the Athletics, as Daryl Knowles will be on the mound, as he has a full star credited to his name. But for this at bat against Milan, Knowles will have the pleasure of getting the semi-ace quality. With that being said, we head to the top half of the 7th with the A's in front of the Mets, 4-2, as we resume play here in the 7th inning at the Coliseum in Oakland. 3-4-4. Workman on Knowles. No. Sad sack on Felix Milan. No. That is going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if control. And it seems Knowles does not have control. So therefore, it'll be runners at the corners for Rusty Staub off the men on base chart. 33. Scrapper hits single. Rusty Staub is not a scrapper. So therefore, that is going to be a bases clearing triple. The Mets tie the game up at 4-all as Rusty Staub gets on at third base for John Milner off the men on base chart. 13. Pressure relief pitcher gets the pop out. Well, since Daryl Knowles is the relief arm, he will get the pop out. And of course, he is fresh for the remainder of the contest. With that being said, we head to the stretch as Milner will get the pop out credited to him. We head to the stretch here at the Coliseum. The score is all deadlocked at 4 as we do see a new Metropolitans pitcher trotting in for the bullpen. We'll find out who that is after we take this really quick timeout. And as the fine folks here at the Coliseum sing a good chorus to take me out to the ball game, along with God Bless America. Again, we head to the stretch with the score all dead even at 4 between the Metropolitans and the Athletics. Timeout. And the fine folks here at the Coliseum sing a good rendition of God Bless America, along with Take Me Out to the Ball Game. And we do see a new pitcher for the Metropolitans, as Harry Parker will be on the hill for the Metropolitans, as he has the semi-star, semi-flash, and semi-control qualities. For this at-bat against Reggie Jackson, Harry Parker will have the full extent use of the star quality. With that being said, we resume play here in the bottom half of the 7th with the score all dead even at 4 between the New York Mets and the Oakland Athletics here for game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind. 1-2-4. Ace on Parker. No. Champ on Jackson. He's not. That is going to be a no runs result of a 4 blank. And that will seal up the deal for the first 7 innings here in this one. Your score after 7 innings is all dead even at 4 between the Metropolitans and the Athletics. 1-3-4. Ace on Knowles. He's not an ace. 1-3-4. Here we are. Champ on Cranepool, the designated hitter for this game. He is not. Therefore, it's going to be a no runs result of a 4 dot. Who will blink first in this 4-4 knot between the A's and between the Mets and the A's? Let's head to the bottom half of the 8th by that score. One, 4, 5. Ace or dynamic on Parker? No. Sad sack on Johnson. He's not a sad sack. So therefore, that's going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die of flash. Parker has semi-flash, and the decider die says he does not. So that one is going to stay put. It's a start, putting the runner on at first base for game tenants off the men on base chart. 22, batting at home. You better believe it, the A's are batting at home. So therefore, that is going to be a single. Station to station they go. As that'll bring up Joe Rudy, Tutti Frutti, Joe Rudy off the men on base chart. 35, control pitcher. Harry Parker is a semi-control pitcher, and the decider die says yes, he is. So therefore, he will get the ground out of Rudy to end the 8th inning. The A's threaten but do not score. We're deadlocked at 4 as we head to the 9th inning here for game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind. 145. Ace or dynamic on Knowles? No. 145. Here we are. Stat sack on Grody. He's not. That'll be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if flash. That Knowles does not have flash. So therefore, that is going to place the runner safely on its second and third for Don Hahn off the men on base chart. Oh my God. 66. Scrapper hits single. Well, good news for the A's. That is huge because the runners are only going to advance one base, but the Mets are going to take the lead thanks to a Don Hahn single, placing runners at the corners now for Bud Harrelson off the men on base chart. 12. Slugger hits home run. Bud Harrelson is not a slugger, so therefore that is going to be a single. Another run does come home to score, and that is going to do it for the top half of the 9th. And that is going to leave the A's in a heap of trouble to force extra innings, 2 to tie, and 3 to end it here in the bottom of the 9th. We head to that inning right now with the score: New York Mets 6 and the Oakland Athletics 4. 134. Ace on Parker. He's not an ace. Champ on Fossey. He's not. Therefore, it's going to be a no runs result, and the Metropolitans are going to be your victors here for this game, for game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind. They charge ahead for 2 runs in the top of the 9th and beat the Athletics by the final score of 6-4. Stay tuned for the Game 1 game summary presented by your favorite Bitty Beer products. And again, we remind you, if you choose to drink Bitty Beer, please remember to drink responsibly. As always, it has big taste at a bitty price. It's Bitty Beer. And we're just about set and ready to go for game 2 of this episode of World Series Rewind as we are from the legendary Shea Stadium for game 2 of this episode of World Series Rewind. Your pitching matchup for game 2 is as follows. Jerry Koosman will be on the mound for the Mets, and he will face off against Vida Blue for the Oakland Athletics. With that being said, can the Mets try to take hold of this series really shockingly? Or will the A's try to bounce back from a tough game 1 loss back at the Coliseum? It's time to find out. Let's play ball from Shea Stadium for game 2 of this episode of World Series Rewind. We'll get things going with a 1-1-2. Ace on Koosman. He's not. Sat sack on Green. He's not. That is going to be an RBI question mark check. And right away, the A's are going to get on the board thanks to a Dick Green RBI. And that gets the A's in front by 1 run. It's A's 1, and the Metropolitans are coming to bat in their half of the first inning. 146. Ace or dynamic on blue? No. Sad sack on Jones. Again, Jones remains in the lineup as the left fielder. 146. Sad sack. He's not. So therefore, it'll be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if control. Vita Blue has semi-control, and he does not. The Metropolitans will load up the bases for Wayne Garrett to hit off the men on base chart. 22, batting at home. Yes, this time the Metropolitans are batting at home. So therefore, Garrett will tie up the game at 1 as Felix Milan will be up at the dish next. The bat off the men on base chart with the bases loaded. With a 25, iron fielder commits the error. Bert Campaneris is not iron, so therefore, that is going to be a ground out. Even though the Mets tie up the game, it still remains a 1-1 tie as the Athletics get out of a bases loaded jam. We end the first inning of play here at Shea with the score: Athletics 1 and the Metropolitans 1. 156. Ace on Kuzman. No. 156. Here we are. Sad sack on Bill North. He is not. So therefore, that's going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if flash. Jerry Kuzman has semi-flash, and the decider die says yes, he does. So therefore, that's going to be putting the runners on at the corners from a 5 to a 4. As for it'll be Sal Bando's turn to bat up at the dish off the men on base charts with runners at the corners and a 1-1 tie here in the top half of the second inning. 33. Scrapper hits double. Get out of here. When is Sal Bando ever a scrapper? So therefore, that is going to be a triple. The A's are going to take a 3-1 lead thanks to a 2 RBI triple by Sal Bando, and that'll bring up Reggie Jackson off the men on base chart. With a 56, patient draws the walk. Unfortunately, Reggie Jackson is not a patient batter, so therefore, that is going to be a contact result, and I usually roll the red die for my contact chart results. We have a 2. Sad sack on Jackson. Get out of here. When is Reggie Jackson ever a sad sack? So therefore, that is going to be an RBI for Reggie as the A's now take charge 4-1 over the Metropolitans after 1.5 innings of play here at the legendary Shea Stadium. We head to the bottom half of the second with the score A's 4, Mets 1 with a 136. Ace pitcher on blue. No. 136. Hero on Staub. He's a semi-hero, and the decider die says yes, he is. That'll be a men on base result with a base running adjustment. Staub is a stoic runner, so that gives the A's a huge break from bases loaded to runners on second and third for John Milner. He'll take his hacks off the men on base chart with a 34. Slugger hits double. Unfortunately, Milner is not a slugger, so therefore, that is going to be a single. 2 runs will come across to score as Milner gives the Mets a fighting chance. It's a 1-run contest now. The A's still hang on 4-3 over the Metropolitans. We head to the third with a 256 on Gene Tennis. First we ask, is Kuzman a workman pitcher? He's not. Do we have a sad sack batter for Gene Tenants? Oh man, we do not. So therefore, that is going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die. If flash, Kuzman has semi flash. The decider die says yes, he does. From 5 to a 4, it's runners at the corners for Tutti Frutti, Joe Rudy. He'll take his hacks off the men on base chart with a 36. Active batter gets runners advance to bases single plus a stolen base. I play it by as the running quality. I'm not sure if that is correct or not, but if it is, if it isn't, make sure to leave in the comments down below to make sure if I'm playing this correctly. So therefore, he's not an active batter. He's a stoic runner. So therefore, it's going to be a contact result. Red die comes back out again with a 3. Sat sack or utility? No, Joe Rudy does not have either sat sack or utility. So they do add on an insurance run. It's 5-3 A's as we head to the bottom half of the third inning. My goodness, this is turning out to be a wild, wild west shootout between the Athletics and the Mets. 1-2-5. Pitcher not fresh. Levita Blue is still considered fresh, and I play freshness as 3 full fresh, 3 semi-fresh. Everyone is on a neutral playing field. So in this case, Vita Blue is still fresh. We ask, is Grody a champion batter? He's not. So therefore, that's going to be a no runs result of a 1 dot, and that is going to seal up the deal for the first 3 innings here in this one, in this Wild Wild West shootout between the Athletics and the Metropolitans. The A's lead it 5-3 after 3 innings of play. 3-4-6. 3-4-6. Here we are. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, we're in the semi-freshest innings now. And I go by the decider die as yes, he's fresh, blank, he's not. So therefore, excuse me, Kuzman is considered not fresh. So therefore, it'll be a men on base result with a base running adjustment. Ray Fosse is a semi-stoic runner. The decider die says he is. So therefore, that 3 will be reduced to a 2, putting runners on at second for Dick Green. We have a 45 to bat out the men on base chart for Dick Green. Fresh pitcher gets the ground out. Unfortunately, Jerry Kuzman is not a fresh pitcher. So therefore, it'll be a single, and that is going to probably be enough. I think single 45 fresh. No. Yes, runners advance 2 bases, score on doubles. Since there is a runner on second, the A's are going to add on another run. It's 6-3 now, as it will be Bert Campaneris, and the Mets manager is trusting Kuzman to get out of this inning. Let's see if that is the case as we resume action off the men on base chart. 12. Slugger hits home run. Bert Campaneris is not a slugger, so therefore, for the runner on first, it'll be a single and nothing more. So good job by Jerry Kuzman to get out of the inning, only with 1 run. But either way, the Mets manager has decided to shake his starter's hand, and he will allow the bullpen to take charge in this one. But the A's still lead it after 3.5 innings of play with the score A's 6, Mets 3. 1-1-3. 1-1-3. Here we are. Struggler on blue. No. Utility on Don Hahn. No. Yes, he's a semi-utility batter. The decider die says he is. So therefore, that is going to be a no runs result of a 1 dot. Oh, excuse me. 1 one dot. That is going to seal up the deal here for the first 4 innings of this one with your score A6, Mets 3. Timeout. And we are back here at legendary Shea Stadium for game 2 of this episode of World Series Rewind with the Athletics in front of the Metropolitans 6-3. It seems we have a new pitcher for the Metropolitans as Ray Sadecki will be taking hold here for the rest of this contest with a semi-star, semi-flash, and semi-control qualities for his appearance. But for this at-bat against Bill North, Ray Sadecki will have the full extent use of the star quality. With that being said, we continue to play here in the top half of the fifth. The A's in front, 6-3 over the New York Mets. 3-4-5. 3-4-5. Here we are. Star pitcher. And again, we gave Ray Sadecki the full extent use of the star quality. So therefore, he has stars. So therefore, it'll be a no runs result of a blank for flash and a dot for control. That is going to do it for the top half of the fifth. We head to the bottom half of the inning with the score: Athletics 6, Mets 3. Two, 3, 6 on Vita Blue. Struggler or Gilded? No. Sad Sack on Bud Harrelson? No. That is going to be an RBI question mark check. Yes, there will be one, but the black die is not a 6, so it's only one RBI. The Mets creep a little bit closer now. It is now a 6, Mets 4 after 5 innings of play. One, 5, 6. Ace on Sadecki. He's not. 1, 5, 6. Here we are. Sad Sack on Sal Bando. He's not. So therefore, that's going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if flash. Ray Sadecki does have semi-flash, and the decider die says yes, he does. From bases loaded, so second and third for Reggie Jackson to hit off the men on base chart. We have a 13. Fresh relief pitcher gets the pop out. Ray Sadecki is considered fresh for the remainder of the contest, and he is the bullpen arm. So therefore, it will be a pop out to end the 6th inning here at Shea Stadium with your score: Athletics 6 and the Metropolitans 4. Timeout. The A's manager did not waste any time to go to that pen to preserve this 2-run lead, as Horatio Pena will be on the hill for the Metropolitans. I'm sorry, for the Oakland Athletics, I should say, with the full star and full control qualities. For this at-bat against Cleon Jones, Horatio will have the full extent use of the semi-ace quality. With that being said, we're back ready to resume play here in the bottom half of the 6th inning with the score: the Athletics 6 and the Metropolitans 4. 1, 2, 3. Workman or Struggler on Pena? No. Champ on Jones? He's not. So therefore, that's going to be a no runs result of a 1 blank, and that will seal up the deal for the first 6 innings here in this one. Your score after 6 innings of play is A's 6, Mets 4. 1-1-2. Ace on Sadecki. He's not. Sad Sack on Tenants. He is not. So therefore, that's going to be an RBI question mark check. And yes, sir, the decider die says yes, there will be an RBI. So they are going to tack on an insurance run. It's now Athletics 7 and the Metropolitans 4 as we head to the stretch here at legendary Shea Stadium here in Queens, New York, with your score, the Athletics 7 and the Metropolitans 4, here for game 2 of this episode of World Series Rewind. One, two, six. Struggler or gilded on Pena? He's not. 1, 2, 6. Here we are. Hero on Garrett. He's not. So therefore, it'll be a no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Wayne Garrett is a semi-slugger. Oh, but the decider die says no, and the black die is not a 6. So therefore, that is a huge break for the A's. So it remains a 7-4 ball game in favor of the Oakland Athletics as we head to the 8th inning by that score for game 2 of this episode of World Series Rewind. Two, 3, 6 on Tutti Frutti Joe Rudy. 2, 3, 6. Struggler on Sadecki. No. Sad sack on Joe Rudy. No. That is going to be an RBI question mark check. And man, oh man, folks, what you didn't do, what you don't get, what I didn't get, you didn't get either. So therefore, that is going to leave us with a 7-4 lead still. We head to the bottom half of the 8th with your score, A7, Mets 4. One, 5, 6. Ace on Pena. No. 1, 5, 6. Sad sack on Milan. He's not. That is going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if flash. Pena does not have flash. Oh no. The bases are loaded full of Metropolitans for Rusty Staub. This is not good if you're an Oakland Athletics fan, but it's good if you're a Mets fan. With an 11 off the men on base chart, batting team harmony or pitching team to sonnet. Well, again, I'm not every team throughout the inaugural season of the History Maker Baseball Express Hour is not taking advantage of who's hot and who's cold or who is ever harmonious or dissonant or not. So therefore, the A's get out of the inning with out of a bases loaded jam. Unbelievable. So therefore, we head to the 9th inning with your score, Athletics 7 and the Metropolitans 4. Two, 3, 6. Struggler on Sadecki. He's not. 2, 3, 6. Here we are. Sad sack on Ray Fosse. No. That'll be an RBI. Excuse me. That'll be an RBI question mark check. And unfortunately, the decider die says no RBI. Last call for the Metropolitans as we head to the 9th, as we head to the bottom of the 9th. Your score remains Athletics 7, Mets 4. One, 1, 6. Struggler on Pena. No. 1, 1, 6. Utility on Milner. He's a semi-utility, and the decider die says yes, he is. So therefore, that is going to be a no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Milner has semi-home run king. Did he get the home run? He did not. So therefore, that is going to be the ball game with a no runs result of a 1 dot. And that will seal up the deal for game 2 of this episode of World Series Rewind, with your score being the Athletics 7 and the Metropolitans 4. Man, oh man, oh man. This series has come down to a winner take all game between the New York Mets and the Oakland Athletics. as are featuring the 1973 Fall Classic here for this episode of World Series Rewind. And folks, your pitching matchup for this game is going to be a doozy. Catfish Hunter against Tom Seaver for all the marbles here for this episode of World Series Rewind. Catfish Hunter has semi-star and full control, while Tom Seaver has ace, flash, and control. With that being said, it's time to find out if the A's will retain their crown or will the Mets find a way to rewrite history and become World Series champions for 1973. It's time to find out and see who will take home Game 3 of this episode of World Series Rewind. Two-two-six. Ace on Hunter. No. Utility on Grody. He's a semi-utility batter, so therefore, yes, he is. That will be a no-runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Jerry Grody is not a home run king or slugger, so therefore, that is going to be a no-runs result of a 2-dot, and that will, two dots, and therefore, that is going to seal up the deal for this first half inning of play. The Mets come away with nothing, and the A's are coming to bat in their half of the first inning. Two, three, four. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, I play it as 3 full fresh, 3 semi-fresh. So with that being said, Seaver is still fresh. Sad sack on Dick Green. He is not a sad sack. So therefore, that'll be a men on base result. -1 for the black die. If control, Tom Seaver does have control. So therefore, that 3 will be reduced to a 2, putting Green on at second base for Bert Campaneris. He'll take his hacks off the men on base chart. With a 34, slugger hits double. Unfortunately, Bert Campaneris is not a slugger, so therefore, it'll be a single and allowing the Athletics to take charge in this one, scoring as the A's score first in 2 of the 3 games here for this episode of World Series Rewind, as Bert Campaneris will get a single and an RBI, and after 1 inning of play, the Athletics take charge of the Metropolitans 1-0. 4-5-6. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, Hunter, we're in the freshness inning, so Hunter is still fresh. Champ on Hahn. He's not a champ, so therefore, that's going to be a no-runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Don Hahn is a scrapper. He's not a home run king or slugger, so therefore, it'll be a no-runs result of a 5-dot, and that'll seal up the deal for the first inning and a half of this one. The A's still lead it 1-0 over the 1973 New York Mets. 1-3-5. Ace on Seaver. You better believe it, he is an ace. So therefore, that'll be a no-runs result of a 1-dot, and that'll seal up the deal for this first 2 innings of this one. Your score remains 1-0 in favor of the 1973 Oakland Athletics. 1-1-3. Struggler on Hunter. Get out of here. No way. Utility on Bud Harrelson. He's a semi-utility, and the decider die says he is not. So therefore, it'll be an RBI question mark. Did the Mets tie the game? They did not. So therefore, it'll be a no-runs result of a 1-dot, and that will seal up the deal for the first 2.5 innings of this one. Your score remains 1-0 in a really tight pitching duel between Catfish Hunter and Tom Seaver for Game 3 of this episode of World Series Rewind, I should say, between the Oakland Athletics and the New York Mets. 2-3-6. Struggler or gilded on Seaver? Get out of here. When is Tom Seaver ever a struggler? Stat sack on Sal Bando. No. That is going to be an RBI question mark check. And folks, the black die is a 6. The decider die is showing dot. There is a rule in History Maker Baseball Express that if an RBI question mark result pops up, the decider die shows dot and the black die says a 6. It's not only one RBI, it's 2 RBIs. So Sal Bando will bring home 2 runs as the A's now lead it 3-0 over the New York Metropolitans after 3 innings of play. And we got 555. So this is going to be an experience check. So let me dig out the charts here. Here we go. And let's roll the white die for this, 5 blank. So we'll keep the original roll for the main chart roll for the no runs narrative. If there is one, we'll be asking now off the experience chart of a 6, icon batter or prospect pitcher. We have a semi-icon bat. Oh, excuse me. We have a icon batter. We don't have an icon. We don't have a prospect pitcher. So therefore, it'll be a no runs result used by the main chart roll with as we end the top half of the 4th with your score: A's 3, Mets nothing. 446. 446. Here we are. Star pitcher on Tom Seaver. He's not. Hero on Jackson. He is a He is a full hero. He is a full hero. So therefore, it'll be a men on base result with a base running adjustment. Reggie Jackson is a semi-active runner, and the decider die says yes, he is. So therefore, from 4 to a 5, putting runners on second and third for Darren Jackson. He'll take his hack. Oh, excuse me. Darren Johnson will take his hacks off the men on base chart with a 45. Fresh pitcher gets the ground out. We're in the semi-freshest innings now. So Tom Seaver is not fresh. And folks, that is going to be a single. And I can't believe my eyes what I am seeing. The Mets manager is going to shake Tom Seaver's hand, and he is not going to allow him to continue in this ball game as the A's trounce for 2 runs off of a 2 RBI single by Darren Jackson. And folks, the Athletics chase Tom Seaver from this ball game. My goodness. We resume play in here in the top half of the 5th with a 1-3-3. Ace on Catfish Hunter. He's not an ace. Satsack on Garrett. He's not an ace. Or excuse me, he's not a hero. Oh, excuse me. Oh, yeah, sorry. He's not a Satsack, so therefore it's going to be an RBI question mark. And unfortunately, the decider die says, yes, there will be an RBI for the Mets. As Garrett will get the Mets on the board, it's now a score of Athletics 5 and the Mets 1, as we do see a new bullpen arm trotting in for the bullpen for the Metropolitans. We'll find out who that is after we take this really quick timeout. It seems Tug McGraw will be on the hill for the New York Mets, as shockingly enough, the Mets are going to go to their closer down by 4 runs. So this is technically not a safe situation for McGraw. With that being said, he has semi-flash on his card. For this at-bat against Tenants, he will have the full extent use of the semi-ace quality. With that being said, it's A's 5, Mets 1, as we resume play here in the bottom half of the 5th inning. 146. 146. Here we are. Ace or dynamic pitcher. And again, we gave Tug McGraw the semi-ace quality. The decider die says he is not. Sad sack on tenants. No, that is going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die of control. Oh, excuse me. Tug McGraw does not have control, so therefore the bases are loaded, full of athletics. We go to the men on base chart for Tutti Frutti, Joe Rudy. Goldfielder makes the out. Felix Milan is not a gold fielder, so therefore, station to station, as the A's tack on a run, nowhere to put him, as Joe Rudy will go to first base via the error on Felix Milan. We stay on the men on base chart with a 45. Fresh pitcher gets the ground out. Well, again, Tug McGraw is the bullpen arm for the Mets. He is considered fresh for the remainder of the contest. With that being said, after 5 innings of play, as he will get the ground out, the A's still lead it 6-1 after 5 innings of play. Three, 4. Workman on Hunter. Excuse me. No. Rusty Staub, we ask, are you a sad sack? It seems you are not. So therefore, that'll be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if control. Catfish Hunter has control. So therefore, that 4 will be reduced to a 3. Go big or go home. They're going to place Staub on at third base for John Milner off the men on base chart. 23. Eager grounds out. John Milner is not an eager batter. That'll be a walk for Milner, as it'll be runners at the corners for Ed Kranepool, the designated hitter for this ball game. And just like game 1, Kranepool will remain the DH for game 3. He will take his hacks off the men on base chart. With a 36, active batter gets runners advanced 2 bases single plus a stolen base. Unfortunately, Ed Kranepool is not an active runner, so therefore it'll be a contact result. And I usually roll the red die from my contact chart results. It's a 2. Sad sack on Kranepool. He's not a sad sack, so therefore that is going to be an RBI, as Kranepool will add on a run for the New York Mets. It's now A6, Mets 2 after 5.5 innings of play. Four, 5, 6. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, Tug McGraw is the bullpen arm for the Mets. He is considered fresh for the remainder of the contest. Champ on Ray Fosse. He's not a champ, so therefore that's going to be a no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Ray Fosse does not have home run king or slugger, so therefore that's going to do it for the first 6 innings here at the Coliseum in Oakland, California, with your score A6, Mets 2, as it'll be a no runs result of a 6 dot, and that will do it for the first 6 innings, head of the 7th, with your score Athletics 6, Mets 2. 2, 3, 6. 2, 3, 6. Here we are. Struggler or gilded on Catfish Hunter? No. Sad sack on Jerry Grody. He's not a sad sack, so therefore that'll be an RBI question mark result. And unfortunately, the black die is, the decider die says no way. So therefore, it'll be a no runs result of a 2 blank. And that will seal up the deal as we head to the stretch here at the Coliseum. The A's take charge 6-2 over the 1973 New York Mets. 1, 2, 6. Struggler or gilded on McGraw? He's not. Hero on Dick Green? He's not. Therefore, it'll be a no runs result with the possibility of a solo home run. Dick Green is not a home run king or slugger, so therefore it'll be a no runs result of a 2 dot, and that will seal up the deal for the first 7 innings here at the Coliseum. The A's are just it's going to be just 3 half innings away, or it's just 2 half innings away from retaining their World Series crown, as it is. The score is A's 6, Mets 2. "335. Struggler on Catfish Hunter. Get out of here. When is Catfish ever a struggler? Champ on Don Hahn. He's not a champ. So therefore, that is going to be a no runs result of a 3 blank. And that will do it for the top half of the 8th. The A's still hang on by their 6-2 lead over the New York Metropolitans. 145. Ace or dynamic on McGraw? No. Sad sack on Bert Campaneris? He is not. So therefore, 145. Here we are. Men on base, -1 for the black die if flash. And it seems McGraw has semi-flash, and the decider die says yes, he does. So therefore, that'll be a no-runs result of a 5 dot, and that is going to take us to the 9th inning. Last call for the Metropolitans to come back in this one. They're down by 4. It's Athletics 6, Mets 2. Timeout. Then you hear the Athletics fans chant, "Raleigh, Raleigh, Raleigh." Raleigh Fingers is on the mound. The closer for the Athletics is looking to seal up the deal for this episode of World Series Rewind for the Oakland Athletics, as he will face off against Bud Harrelson for this at-bat against Fingers. For this at-bat against Bud Harrelson, Raleigh Fingers will have the full extent use of the semi-star quality. With that being said, it's A's 6, Mets 2. Mets are down by 4. 4 to tie and 5 to win, to hopefully be in the winning spot to head to the bottom of the 9th. With that being said, let's get things going here in the 9th inning with the A's in front, 6-2 over the New York Mets. 3-3-4. Star on Fingers. He's a semi-star. We gave him the semi-star quality for this at-bat against Bud Harrelson, but unfortunately, he does not have it. Utility on Harrelson. He's a semi-utility. The decider die says he does not have it. So therefore, that'll be a men on base result, -1 for the black die of control. Fingers does have semi-control. The decider die says he does not. So therefore, it'll be runners at the corners for Cleon Jones. Oh boy, folks, hang on to those hats. This could be huge here. We have a 36. Active batter gets runners advance 2 bases single plus a stolen base. Cleon Jones is not an active runner, so therefore, it will be a contact result. And I usually roll the red die for my contact charts here. It's a 2. Stat sack. Unfortunately, Cleon Jones is not a stat sack. The Mets get a run, but it will not be enough as the Athletics retain their World Series crown from 1973 as they win this episode of World Series Rewind 2-1 and beat the New York Mets here in Game 3 of this episode of World Series Rewind by the final score of 6-3. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode of World Series Rewind as we rewound the clock back to 1973 and featured the Fall Classic matchup that featured the 1973 Oakland Athletics against the 1973 New York Mets. Well, it seems we ran out of time for today, but never fear. Let's see what's coming up next time here on the History Maker Baseball Express Hour. And it seems we are going to rewind, or I should say, bringing the clock, springing the clock forward to 2019. In this case, June 13th, 2019, as we are going to relive the only MLB game to ever be played at the site of the College Baseball World Series in Omaha, Nebraska, as the Detroit Tigers take on the Kansas City Royals. Your probable starters for that game were Matthew Boyd for the Tigers and Homer Bailey for the Kansas City Royals. Who will come on top of this matchup? Well, I guess you're going to have to tune in next time here on the History Maker Baseball Express Hour, where we play the next installment of MLB Memorable Games with History Maker Baseball Full Play. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the History Maker Baseball Express Hour that was being played with History Maker Baseball Express. We look forward to bringing you more matchups of Rivalry Night, World Series Rewind, Cross Era Showdown, and a blast from the past as we revisit some classic and memorable games from Major League Baseball throughout the 2026 Major League Baseball regular season.